Don't you just love it when you turn on the PC for the first time and the initial color of the controllers inside is the color that you intended to place in your build? Guys, this is BeQuiet Lightbase 600LX, and we're having actually 3 cases in one with just 4 turns in one direction and 4 turns in the other. And it's really that simple actually, because what you have to do with this case is you have 4 legs right here, you have to twist them and pop them out, and you place them either on top here or on the back side. And you can lay it flat, you can lay it on reverse or anything similar to that. The only thing, when you reverse it on the top, you have to reverse the fans as well and reorganize the AAO so the pump block isn't on the highest point, so it doesn't get bubbles inside, which is kind of logical, right? So that's the only thing that you need to do, except when you're placing it flat on the surface on the back side, you literally don't have to do anything because the pump isn't in the highest point, so that's good. So what we have right here is it's not a transformer, it's more like how can I say it? I don't know, I really don't have the words for this case. I mean, you saw it in my Computex boot tour for BeQuiet, and there's also Lightbase 900, which hopefully I will cover when the time comes. But currently we're going to talk about Lightbase 600LX. So what's it all about? First of all, what I need to say is it comes with 4 120mm Lightwings LX. And when I mention Lightwings LX, the 120 at the back, and you can only place 120 at the back, is regular blade, of course. But the side ones are reversed, and this is actually the first time I'm seeing BeQuiet having reverse blades. And what I wanted to state actually when I was recording this build, the B-roll, and when I was actually placing the components inside, I remembered my sentence from another review, what I stated. Every manufacturer that has fish tank case needs to have reverse blade fans, and BeQuiet does it. So that's really good. But I don't think I'll be able to give you all the necessary information. Well, hopefully I'll give you all the necessary, but certain details I might skip. But what I wanted to say, this isn't the thing that impressed me the most, because when we go to benchmarks, you'll see the picture. And let's continue. The bottom and top panel, even the side panel, aren't removable. So everything you're doing inside the case. So you can't take the bracket for the bottom fans, you can't take the bracket for the top fans and just, you know, install it outside of the chassis. But then again, it's not a problem. It's really not a problem because this case is intended to be flipped around. And now, removing the side panels, we have 2 thumb screws here on the side, which open the possibility to slide out the tempered glass here. And the front tempered glass, you have 1 screw at the bottom and 1 at the top. That's it. And then you slide it towards you, basically, if you're standing in front of the PC. The top panel, thumb screw, slide it backwards. Dust filter, which is attached to the top panel. The same thing happens with the bottom part. So you have to remove the bottom part to install the bottom fans. Yeah, that's kind of normal. And then what we have next is the back panel, which also has 2 thumb screws, and we have full fine mesh at the back, but we also have a dust filter. So it comes to play, does it really make sense to have a dust filter when you have fine mesh at the back? I don't know, but I didn't have problems while running benchmarks, so there it is. So one interesting thing what they did with this case, and if you decide to flip it on the back side panel, you have 1.33 meters of LED inside this chassis that are possible to be visible in that scenario. 1.33 meters long strip, it consists of 77 LEDs, and it's nicely diffused, so you don't see individual LED here on the top, on the front, and on the bottom part. Well, basically it depends on the orientation of the case. So yeah, here's another cool feature that this case has, and it's quite a shocker, I do have to say, but when you think about it, it's actually quite logical that they did that. You have 2 addressable RGB and PWM hubs, one on top and 1 at the bottom, which give you a possibility to connect up to 6 addressable RGB headers on top, 6 PWM headers on top, and the same thing basically at the bottom part. And they're quite easy accessible, so they thought of it in a way that you connect the top fans pump and everything at the top part, and the bottom fans, side fans, or whatever you want to go and however you want to do it at the bottom part. So you actually can organize the cables quite nicely in terms if you just do them properly. Next to that, we have a nice anti-sag GPU bracket that is basically held by one thumb screw, but it has some sort of a canal, loads of holes with threads, so you can actually remove it depending on the orientation, depending on the GPU position and everything all together. It is possible to move it up or down even in one thread, or you have to relocate the thumb screw to another thread and just move it up and down just to adjust it perfectly for your GPU. And another cool thing that this case supports is Asus BTF, MSI Project Zero, and Gigabyte Project Stealth. Now for some technical details, motherboard compatibility ATX, M-ATX and Mini ITX. Case size is 450 x 305 x 455. The volume is 59.7 liters and the total weight is 12.1 kilos. Now the fans inside at 100% are running at 1600 RPMs. And the noise level is 25.5 decibels at 100% PWM. You can place up to 10 fans. Top can support 2 140 or 3 120. Side can support 3 120. Rear can support 1 120. And bottom can support 2 140 or 3 120. Radiator support, top can support up to 360. Side can support up to 240. And then we go, rear can go with 120 and bottom can go up to 360. What they stated is that this case supports dual 360 radiators simultaneously, so you don't have to worry about that. Power supply compatibility, maximum dimensions excluding the bottom fan and including the bottom fan is up to 200 millimeters. Graphic card length can go maximum up to 400 millimeters, and maximum CPU cooler height is up to 170 millimeters. Then we go with storage. You can go with one 3.5 inch hard drive. You can go up to maximum 2 3.5 inch hard drives, but I think you need to add something else. Then two additional 2.5 inch SSDs, which are in scope of delivery, and maximum you could go with 4. That is most likely something additional, like an accessory or something similar to that. Then for the I/O panel, and finally a button that I can actually find quite quickly, and that is visible and accessible, but still not too tacky. USB 3.2 generation 2 type C. Then we have two USB 3.2 type A. We have microphone and audio combo jack. Now you also have a power on and reset button, and then you have a mode switch for the RGB lights that are connected to the hub, or if you long press that button you actually synchronize everything to your motherboard. Now we have the LX and DX version. The LX version comes with, as you've noticed, 4 120mm fans, while the DX comes without any additional fans. So let's take a closer look. Now what I noticed is this is a smaller version. Of course the light base 900 will be much bigger and will have loads of possibilities when we're talking about the fans and radiators and stuff like that, what I noticed from Computex and what I saw in person. Now at the back, when you place the power supply, you have some sort of a bracket that holds the hard drive cage, and right beneath it you have that addressable RGB and PWM hub. Now with that said, there's nothing covering that bottom hub, and the pins aren't sideways, they're upwards. So hopefully you'll be able to reorganize the cable so nothing is, let's say if you have loads of cables, pushed to the bottom and pressed at those pins so it doesn't bend them or do anything similar to that. But it's just it's nothing drastical, let's be honest. I'm just giving you some, let's say, inside information, what I noticed and what you need to take a look. Now the second thing, of course, this is a much smaller case when we're talking about in general compartments and everything all together, right? So if you go with extensions, like I wanted to go with something that resembles to BeQuiet with the color scheme and everything all together, and if you go with their power supply, of course, it's going to be quite tight using both cables if you're not going with direct cables to the power supply. And basically if you're going with cables from the power supply with extensions, you'll have all the space occupied except for the hard drive cage, right? But I mean, that's the whole point of the back part of the chassis, to occupy and nicely hide those cables. Shame you can't remove the bottom, top and side panel. for easier access and easier placement of the fans. Not for the top, that's not a problem, but definitely for the bottom, so you don't have to flip the case and remove the bottom panel to be able to mount those fans at the bottom. Now, unfortunately, I didn't have Lightwings LX to place them at the bottom for additional reverse blade combination with everything, so I had to use Lightwings, the original ones. And yeah, I think now it's time for the benchmarks. So in AIDA 64 Extreme Edition, the CPU went up to 82 degrees, while the clock speed went up to 4800 megahertz, and the GPUs, as per usual, 65 degrees. As I stated in other cases, 65 to 68, that's kind of normal. And then I go to Cinebench. It started at 79. Well, most of the time it was at 77 degrees, the CPU. Clock speed 5000, and then at some point it reached 5050 megahertz, which is outstanding. And then the score is 26,638. It starts there. It immediately surpasses 26,700 and eventually almost touches 26,900. The last one was 26,895, which is outstanding. And I do have to say, this was definitely the quietest build that I did in last couple of months when benchmarking it in Cinebench with these 10 tests, 10 rows. Because what I noticed is everything was running at 1751 RPMs. And this is why I was satisfied, because first of all, you get outstanding thermals on the AMD Ryzen 9 7900 X3D. Then you get nice thermals on RTX 4080 Gaming X Slim, and I think that's quite outstanding. So I wanted to flip it on the backside and check out the thermals in that scenario as well, because in totally inverted position it will be the same as this one. So basically what I got is, it started at 80 for some strange reason, but it started at 80. I mean, compared to the first benchmark it was 79, and then it lowered down to 78, 77, and it stayed at 77. The clock speed was 5000 and a bit of above, and the benchmarks were literally the same. So you don't lose literally nothing when flipping the case in all different positions, and that is outstanding, because it really doesn't matter if you have it like this, if you have it flipped on the backside, or if you have it completely inverted, well, depending on the AIO, so you need to revert the AIO to the proper position. But all in all, this case is basically for left side, for right side, and just for show off panorama design, which just looks outstanding. I'm really digging, because of the performance, because of the positions of the case and how you can revert it and do wonders with it. This is just great, and big thumbs up. PC Crazy approved badge for this one. And for something else, you'll see in a week or so another video with BeQuiet, which is right here, and I'll do a dedicated one just because I'm quite fascinated by it. It's really an outstanding AIO, but you'll have to wait and see why. So guys, thank you for watching today's video. Hopefully you liked the case. This was BeQuiet Lightbase 600 LX paired up with Lightloop 360, but you'll find out more about it later on in that video. And because of it, so you don't miss, well, basically first check out the links in the description for those two products, and so you don't miss that video, don't forget to subscribe, hit the like button, click the notification bell, and I'll see you quite shortly. Bye bye.